believe it's appropriate that we come here today to Town Hall to tell you of an odyssey which started 5 years ago and surely will involve every one of you, eventually all men everywhere. And as this involvement grows, know for a fact that the world will never again be the same. Now I'm very proud to introduce to you a young man who made this happen for us here today. It should be pointed out that he's not the only one. There are others who have produced such a device that works, produces more energy than it uses. So the technology cannot be stopped. It's going on all over the world. However, his genius, I feel, will change the way the world works. His decision to make this outgrowth of insight a gift to mankind speaks for himself. Words really do not say it. In presenting to you Mr. John C. Bedini. John. John will show you a crude but effective prototype of the future. John is one of the first involved in one of the most exciting events of our time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank Town Hall today for inviting me here today. And what I want to do is not get into anything technical with the machine, but explain to you in simple principles how the machine operates. There, I think we can take the cover off. See, I think it's here. What we have is a bank of storage batteries down there that are from World War II. It is impossible to charge those batteries with a conventional charger because this type of machinery does not allow that, because the energy which it is using actually changes these batteries to a different form. The machine the reason that we have the motor here is to give you the illusion that we have to have something to spin this machine. In the end, this machine does not need this motor, and it does run itself. This is a very crude machine. The wire going to the load is about as thin as your hair. Therefore, a baby can operate this kind of power without getting electrocuted. I will short out the machine so that you can see it accelerate. But the main points of this machine are that this is what they call a gravity stress converter. And what I mean by that is there are gravity fields surrounding the Earth. They hold you here. What we do is tap a little bit about that and convert it into usable electrical energy.
John, you know, we've heard quite a bit about a thing called a Kromrey generator.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened way back 10, 20 years, and I don't believe it's anything to do with the monopole motor. So maybe you'd like to talk about the
No, there's quite a difference between the two motors, and if I can get around to the blackboard, I'll just put a simplified drawing of the Kromrey converter up. Now, the Kromrey converter is basically a flux gate generator, and you can see here that if you come around here, you can see here that the armature is the thing that's spinning in between these gates. See, it's in a magnetic lock here. See, it doesn't want to leave the lock.
So this is a Kromrey generator?
Yes, this is a Kromrey generator.
And this is one that worked?
One that worked very well and is wound correctly. Now, a Kromrey generator is basically made up like this. So notice right away, it's a north pole here, a south pole here, a north pole here, and a south pole here. And what's in between here is an iron bar, and an iron bar here, and then a non-magnetic shaft. And I must stress this to everybody. This is a non-magnetic shaft, meaning that the shaft is aluminum, it's brass, or it's stainless steel non-magnetic. And it's the only way that you can get this generator to work correctly. So what's on the shaft in the center here are two slip rings. And these are for brushes. So we'll just draw a little brush here and a wire out. And a little brush here and a wire out. And the coil is made up where the coil comes in this way and stops, and then comes in this way, and then see its series down to the next coil, stops, comes out and goes to this slip ring. So it's 4 independent coils, meaning that this is one pole, this is one pole, but it's on the same iron bar. This is a coil, this is a coil, this is a coil, and this is a coil. And these two are series. It's a series arrangement, see? So basically what happens is this is completely charged. The magnetic flux has got these in a complete shorted condition.
What does that mean, shorted condition?
Well, it means that it's zero.
Okay.
It's zero in here. Zero in here. In other words, the magnetic field's completely contained. And when you turn this rotor, you're going to break the magnetic lock and it's going to discharge. So it's in a charged condition right now. And the minute that the rotor breaks this lock, it discharges in the rotor, which is this portion right here. Okay, so the problem with the patent was that the problem with the Kromrey patent on this...
Whose patent was it?
Kromrey. Raymond Kromrey.
And who is Raymond Kromrey?
He was the inventor of this Kromrey Converter.
And he...
I don't have the patent, so I can't tell you the exact year, but it's way out of date.
Was this the guy that was a professor?
Yes, at the university, and there's quite an interesting story to this guy because I wanted to rebuild the thing, and so I made a long distance call. I found the number through a friend, and I called, and the person at the other end of the phone, who said that it was his wife, said to me on the phone, "I don't give a damn what you do with it." So I just took it to mean that nobody cared. So I rebuilt the whole machine and found all the problems with the coil, with the arrangement, so that it worked correctly when we got down in it. And one of the little unique features of the Kromrey Converter is that under load it accelerates. So that the current actually goes down instead of upward. And so I'll get a current meter in line real quick here, so bear with me just a second. I'll just get something that's close here. And of course, we're not running the machine right at this instant. But I'm showing you that the 0 amps is here, and this could be as high as 30 here and 60 over here. So I'm just putting a meter that we can get an indication on there. So anyway, there was some mysterious things behind this, in that, why did it never get out into the marketplace? It was so efficient. That's because 120% is, yes, it's over unity, but the problem is it's not at an industrial level. For something to be considered really free energy device, it has to be 300% or over.
And you know this how?
I know this how because I was told this by the scientists who work for government laboratories. So, having a device that's COP1 is not going to get you on the list, because you have to have a COP of, say, 3 to 4.
Or above.
Or above,
Yeah.
and otherwise it's just like they told Bruce De Palma, if it would have been over unity, we would have just locked up the whole lab. So it has to be at this level. So the max we could get out of this machine here would be 180%, which is damn good, because you can do a lot with that. You can recharge its batteries, you put it back to its battery, everything, without affecting the machine whatsoever. So let's go ahead and run this machine real quick, and so you can see what it sounds like, and we'll get into a little bit behind this. Now, one other thing before we do this is I'm going to make this point that in this machine, what we have drawn here, the converter would be depicted like this with 2 lines, and then out to your loads. Which are lights. Now, one of the ways to test this machine, this G-field, we call it a G-field because it stresses the gravity field. And when this is running, the pole pieces can get hot, but it'll be blowing out cold air because it's sort of like a magnetic refrigeration when this is taking place. So the machine doesn't need any kind of cooling, and it doesn't need any kind of really special pole pieces in here because they can take that. The point is, we'll be running at about 180% when we short this machine down. And we can run some light bulbs if you want to run a light bulb. It's not going to run it very bright because it's not that high a voltage. But let's go ahead and run it and show them for a second. So you can see our current there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to short the machine out. And of course you can hear it speed up. Now what we'll do is tell it to go back across its battery. And it speeds up. Okay. Of course this isn't very sensitive, but it actually moved back a little bit there, see? Yeah. Then we can charge this other battery. And now feel the air here. Right here. Right. It's going to get colder. It's also charging this battery really good right now.
So the point being is it's putting out cold air.
Yeah.
Cooling the air.
Yeah. Look where it's got this battery. And watch when I take it off. Look at the battery. It bounces right up to 13 volts. Now, feel the air now here, right here. Yeah, watch. Now feel the pole piece in there. The end of the pole piece. This end. The end. It's hot.
Hot. Yeah, it's quite hot. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So
where's the cold coming from?
the negative energy that it's sucking from the vacuum, because the G field the cold air is coming from the negative end, in that the G field creates a vortex. When it breaks this magnetic lock, now the mistake that everybody makes with a G-field generator or a Kromrey converter is that when you tell them, they think that it doesn't make any difference here, that this is a non-magnetic shaft, but it's stated in the patent, and it's been stated over 250 times by me that this shaft has to be a non-magnetic material, because if this is a magnetic material, then the flux goes like this.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't want the flux to go like that, because it's not a standard transformer. You have a rotating flux gate here. And these are coils, remember. And we want the flux like this. We want it to go in this direction the first time, and back the other direction when it rotates over.
What do you mean when it rotates over?
Well, when this rotates over, this south, because right now this is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
This rotates over, this is forced into a reverse pole situation where these totally reverse. In other words, the south side here now becomes the north side, and the north side here now becomes the south side, because it's rotating this direction. It's rotating this direction. So once we charge in this condition, we want to force it to discharge and then recharge very quickly in the other condition.
So where the spindle is spinning in the same direction?
Yes.
Okay.
Continuously in the same direction.
Right.
Now, what's actually happening here is, remember, these magnetic, it's 0 here, it's 0 here, it's 0 here, and it's 0 here. This is the blotch wall, here, and here, and here. See? Right straight through the non-magnetic shaft. Otherwise, the blotch wall moves over here, which is incorrect. So we could say this is the hidden secret of the Kromrey Converter, which is no hidden secret at all if you understand the machine. We're not trying to make anything a secret here. We're trying to tell you how to construct it correctly if you're going to do it. So
that
remember,
really is the crux of the matter right there.
Yes. Once again, remember what I said with the coil. You want the energy to be sucked in through this moving gate, the blotch wall. Okay, and then you have the same thing this way. So you're forcing 4 blotch walls. One up here, one here, one up here, and one here.
But what do you mean you're forcing 4
You're
blotch walls?
forcing 4 of them to pump.
Where are the 4? I mean...
4 poles.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. Just point them out again on the blackboard. Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Just put your finger on them again. Can you notice?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, right.
Okay?
Right.
You're forcing 4 of them to pump, sucking in their energy in and expelling energy. And you expel the energy through the coils and then out to the contacts. Now, you see this energy, right, in the system is basically at a 0 potential, which means that if you relieve it, it's got to speed up. So let's do this again. There's no resistance then. So here, I'm going to short the machine out, right? And it's going to get cold here because the energy, it has to output the cold energy, the negative energy. And you can feel it right out here, too. It's getting colder. It's outputting cold energy only in 4 corners. Feel. Over here, over here, over here, and over here. But if we turn it off now, and you touch that pole that's doing it, it's warm.
Yeah, it's hot, very hot.
Right. So you see that the normal EM energy is a hot energy and the negative energy is a cold energy.
So if you ran that for a while, would it burn up the center?
No. It's just going to speed up and it stays shorted. It's not going to melt any wires. Now, here's an example. You see it charge the battery. The energy is safe. I'm touching it. Notice that. Speeds up. Look at the battery. Pushing the battery right up. Now, is there any current there? That's the next question, right? Here. I'll disconnect the battery. I'll disconnect the wires. And I'll take one little wire, that size, right there. Can you see that little wire? Watch. There's no heat. Not burning that little wire. I'll do it up here. I'll take that little wire. Watch the spark. No current. I'll even hold the wire. There's no current.
Is it cold or just normal temperature?
Just room temperature. There you go. But look here. So we'll put it back. Pretty quick, isn't it? Building the battery. Yes. What's there, right? You want to see what's there? We'll take 100-watt light bulb. That's what's above the battery. And look, feel the light here. It's hot. Come and feel the light. Oh, you can't, Pat. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's warm.
But yet the cables and nothing's warm. See? And it's warm just on the side there. On that one spot.
Why is that?
Negative energy forms a dot inside the light bulbs just in a certain spot. It's where my finger was.
Oh, yeah.
So the energy's going right to my finger, and that's where the warm spot's going to be.
So it's just in one spot. When you're using negative energy,
Yeah, it follows. Yes. The same more Ray talked about the same thing with one spot on the top of the light bulb. See, otherwise this machine can just, you can put it back to its own batteries. You got to get them right, but you can put it back to its own batteries. See? No change. Look. Look here. See, it's being sucked out right here, across these poles. Look over here, brighter. Listen to the machine, speeding up. So we saw there's no current in that little wire, right? All right. Okay, this takes 65 watts to light this light. So what we're going to do, see? Barely any current there. And the machine speeds up and adjusts to the load of the light. See? But meanwhile, it's pumping out cold energy, right? Doesn't care what you do with it. Does it go through there? See the impedance? That's across the battery. Right? See what it did? Doesn't care. And that's what's known as a Kromrey converter.
Noisy.
Very noisy machine. Specially built. Non-magnetic shaft through the center. And there's a long story behind this. The reason that you don't see these out there, that we never continue to build anymore after that. And you can see that normal electricity is a hot thing here, Tony. If you come over here and touch this motor. That's the normal.
Right, right.
And the pole's the normal down here. But the negative is the cold energy.
Right.
And see, the battery is, come and feel this battery is cold.
Either. I'm affecting.
Yeah, the battery's really cold.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cold.
All right, I have to see it. Oh, yeah.
You bet.
Yeah.
So you got the permission from the.
I got the permission,
permission
if it was his wife.
If it was his wife, or, and anyway, you went ahead and.
And I went ahead and developed it and found all the problems with it and worked out the 4 poles and worked out that if you were really going to build this machine, I mean, we went through a lot of trouble to build this machine. And we found out it's just basically an impedance problem of this coil, adding another coil like this on the rotors. Then you cut the impedance by 3. These happen to be single coil, so you'd have 3 here. And 3 here. And 3 here. And everything worked out in 3s. And that 3 would come down to this 3. Just like you see it here. And so if this was 3 ohms, right, when you got down here, right, you'd have 0 ohms.
Right.
You see? So 0, 0, and actually not 0, so about 4.4, and 0.4, 0.4, which is not a very big impedance at all. But since it's buck boost inside here,
Since it's what?
buck boost, meaning it's going one way 1 minute and one way the next minute, and it keeps doing that, right? What happens is as these pole pieces heat, the negative energy that you're feeling in cold is in this vortex. It's being blown out of the machine by the pole pieces right at this vortex. And that's what you're feeling is cold. The energy coming out of the machine is cold electricity because the battery got cold and the light got hot.
Except for that one spot.
Yeah, except for the one spot. Just the one spot on the light got hot.
Yeah.
And if you shorted out the wires here to a little wire that's smaller than your hair, you had no current there at all. You couldn't even burn the wire up if you had to. That's why it was such a safe electricity for generating power for a house. But that wasn't going to be allowed because it was already at 180%. Okay? And fixing the machine up with, you could take it easily to 350.
By doing what?
By making the geometry of the coils on 3s like I've showed you. You could easily go to 350.
So you were experimenting with it and you got one up to 350.
Yeah, and then mysteriously, fights started to happen in the machine company. And that's what ended the production of the G-Field generator. Otherwise,
You mean in your
well, we built probably 150 of these generators as models. We sent them out. Most of them ended up on fireplace mantles as a talkative piece, and nobody ever knew what it was. Of course, John Sajaka knew what it was because he said that it belonged as a part on a spaceship. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what does he mean by that? What is that? You know, where does it go on the spaceship, John? You know, and he would never say, but mysteriously, John Sajaka was there at the time, and mysteriously, the company that was making this for me fell apart. So I was like out in the cold. So I have the only probably remaining model. Tom Bearden has a model. Steve Worst sold out a bigger model to some wind farm, and who knows if they're using it or not using it. And 12 went to MIT, which were put in the back room and could never be studied. They bought 12 of them up when there were only 12 left.
So MIT actually paid you hard
$500 a piece.
And bought 12 of these
Bought
generators.
12 of those generators.
Which were all over Unity.
Close to.
Yeah. And that was that for them.
That was that. We also made a flywheel, which is this flywheel here, that actually went on another one, and the flywheel stops the cogging.
Stops the what?
Cogging, because there's no flywheel here.
Right.
And the magnetic lock makes it jerk around.
Right.
Tick, 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 right. And once you get it up to speed with the flywheel, it's a smooth running machine, doesn't make that noise.
And does it increase the over unity at all?
No, it doesn't.
It just mechanically, it just makes
mechanically makes it
more aesthetic.
Yes.
And quieter.
And quieter.
Yeah. And Steve Worth, of course, machined this one, the 4-pole, which has twice the output of the regular Kromrey converter of that size. And as you could see, you can short it out, you can do whatever you have to do with it. It'll charge batteries really quick, and it does it cold. It's still cold, you know. So
it's okay to charge batteries quickly.
And by the way, this was that dead battery that we depleted.
Okay.
And
Very bright.
Yeah.
Very, very bright.
and that's cold electricity. See, it's just hot here, like a normal light. But look, we're just using this little clip lead, and it's at room temperature.
So will that also get hot where your thumb was?
No. This is normal electricity now.
Okay.
But we charged it with negative electricity.
Okay.
And this is that battery that we totally depleted.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty bright.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Need shades.
And there's no way that you saw me light those lights.
Right.
You saw what this was putting in as far as light goes.
Right.
And it could barely light this.
Although it got brighter as time went on.
Yeah.
You say you got one up to, I think, about 380%.
300, about over 300.
Over 300. Could you have gotten it more if you kept experimenting with it?
Probably max on that mechanical machine would have been around maybe 400%. Because of the way the way it has to rotate.
Right.
And it was impossible to make an electrical circuit that represented it. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It had to be mechanical. And like I said, when my discussions came up about John Sajeka kept coming around. Now mind you, John Sajeka, the John Sajeka files are probably the most sought after his death in the world. I mean, people ask, well, what happened to the big red schoolhouse where everything that was suppressed was in there? Well, there's some things in those booklets like, how about your electric car, people? You've never seen the electric car that used a wedge of aluminum to power itself down the road for 300 or 400 miles. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that people already know about, but we're talking about the ones like the battery that's aluminum. That they already had these electric cars years ago, where you could go into a gas station and replace. And what the battery was something that was shaped like this. Sort of like this. And all you did was put this wedge of aluminum in here, and it used this wedge of aluminum for electricity. It made electricity from this wedge, and that powered your electric car for 300-400 miles. And when you went into the next service station, they had it all set up. And when you went into the next service station, there was nothing really left here. And they just inserted another wedge, and you took off. You paid for that wedge, and away you went.
And this is when, in the 1950s?
Oh, I have no idea, because
yeah.
I remember going through the files, and it said something. There was a note on the side of it that said suppress it or whatever.
So
So, it was suppressed. And then there were things like detecting cancer with a vacuum tube voltmeter, which worked very well. And there were things like ESP machines, and the whole book is there, you know, and there's little side notes on certain things that said, like, take this one as an example. A horseshoe magnet North Pole and South Pole, right? We know that there's a normal horseshoe magnet. Well, how many people know that if you had a special tube made of glass that went down here, it was sort of shaped like this, and it was split, except for a little point down here. So the tube sort of looked like this, and this is filled with water. And just by doing that, out of this side comes oxygen, and out of this side comes hydrogen. How many people know that? That also, where did that go? That's also in these files. So there are plenty of things that John Sajaka allowed me to copy because he was interested in getting at the G field and stopping that from getting out there, because this was on national radio, and it was shown at the town hall meeting, lighting light bulb after light bulb.
Is that the video that?
Yes.
Okay.
And Bill Jenkins was the narrator.
Yeah, we have that. We'll be showing that.
Yeah, so it actually was done. Steve Worth's standing there, and I'm standing there, and Bill Jenkins is standing there. But you don't find John Sajaka because he didn't show up in those public meetings like that. And the funny thing is how many other things were suppressed, and was this part of some spacecraft, as he claimed? I have no idea. But I just want to make it known, and we're documenting as much as we can on all this for the younger generation coming up that might be interested in making this.
Well, eventually we'll have no choice.
Mm-hmm. So that's about what I can say at this time. I just look forward in the future to doing a little bit more on it. We should know all this. You know, there's no secret here. The one thing I want to let everybody know is I hate secrets.
Yes.
I mean, I'm showing you the machines in black and white. They're right here in front of you. Come and try this yourself. You know, or you can build this machine back here and do it yourself. But there's no secrets.
Yeah, and it seems like it's almost magical.
Well, yeah, you see, what's not understood, it's mystical. If you don't understand the technology, well, then you're saying the guy's a wizard. He's a magician back there, and he's performing tricks. But I'm not performing any tricks.
Well, the problem is a lot of the kids coming up, what they're taught in the schools, they're led to believe that everything is pretty much understood. So they don't realize there are these gaping holes that are not even touched on.
Well, it's like a god, in a way. I look at it as like a god. If I fly into Africa in an airplane, and this was a famous story by Sajaka, if I fly into Africa in an airplane in a village that never has seen anything, and I land, they're going to fall to their knees and worship me. If I show them a flashlight, they're going to run. That's what you have here. So, believe me when I tell you, there's nothing supernatural about this. There's no big secrets. It's all normal physics that's been kept away from the common person, so he doesn't understand it. So therefore, he's skeptical, and he says, that can't work. But have you tried it? No. Why would I try it? It doesn't work. So I'm happy to demonstrate the machines and share the technology with you. Butch was Steve Worth's brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
He was running all the machines. He was making all the pieces and the parts. And this guy went berserk.
Wow.
Nuts. How can you have him go nuts? Only after Sajaka's been there? How could the guy go nuts? Unless Sajaka had something, some machine, and he did have machines. So, he didn't goof around with him. You know, but he was the kind of guy, Pat, that would, he'd come around and he'd have 2 horseshoes. Hi, John. How you doing, John? Let's go. Let's go have a piece of pie. He'd go.
What were the horseshoes about?
He had those interlocking
Oh,
horseshoes.
yeah, yeah.
You know, it was a game he played all the time. Something he thought everybody was interested in. They'd be interested in it because he was a farmer anyway.
From Iowa.
Well, yeah, he was from Iowa, but a CIA farmer probably.
Yeah.
And I used to tease him about that all the time. And it's funny that John Sajaka took a liking to me. And of course, then one day he brought over a notebook and he says, he says, here, look at that. And so I went through the notebook. And he says, I said, can I copy some of this? He says, you got an hour. And he meant it. Because exactly when an hour was up, he says, that's it. Can't copy no more. And he took the notebook and went away. He just threw the notebook like this. Have a look at that. And here I am looking at all this stuff in this notebook like this. And I'm going, never seen that. That's interesting. I think I'll build that. No, you won't. I said, can I copy that? Yeah, you got an hour. And then pretty soon it was 2 notebooks, and 3 notebooks, and 4 notebooks, and 5 notebooks, and 6 notebooks. And I says, I got to buy a copy machine to copy all that. And he said, well, then get one of those IBM. Just call up IBM and get one of those IBM machines because they got a special on them right now, and they're this big, and they sort and they do all kinds of things, right? So I called up and I ordered the copy machine, and I didn't have a cent to my name. They brought it out on trial, right? And they gave me 2 weeks to try it out, right? And that's probably why this guy said it, right? And so he brought over all the notebooks, and he says, I don't have to leave till 3:30. He says, so start copying. Well, the first ream of paper went out, and the second ream of paper went out, the third ream of paper went out, 4th ream, 5th ream, 6th ream, 7th ream, 8th ream, 9th ream. Pretty soon the machine was saying service on it. And he says, well, just call them up and tell them it's defective. Typical CIA government guy, right? You know, use everybody else's money. Forget the rest. Right? So I called them up and they brought another machine out. I finished off, gave him back the machine, said thank you very much. That was it. And that was what he did. You know, when he said he filled his gas tank full of water and just dropped some catalyst in it, he wasn't kidding. He had the bottle in his pocket. It's right there with the bottle in his pocket. He goes, watch this. Where's the guard nose? Now, what kind of guy would take a guard nose from the front of your shop, walk over to the tank and fill the tank with water, and then get in and start the truck and go? What else was suppressed? But I was fortunate enough, and I got to thank him to this day, you know, for sharing what little bit of information he did share with me, because it got me into my creative mode to where I wanted to learn more and more about all this stuff. And so Tom Bearden's been a blessing as far as this, because Tom Bearden's right, and the people haven't figured out he's not right yet. And I have pity for all of you in the end, because you're going to want to know what this is. You're going to want to know how to generate your energy, because this stuff has been suppressed for years. And so I would suggest that anybody that's viewing this, that you better pay attention to what Tom Bearden's saying, because the man is right. This proves it. All this technology proves it, that what Tom Bearden's talking about does exist, because that battery is still cold. Once the energy is in place, you may not be able to measure it, but believe me, you have senses that can tell.
Yeah. And the light comes on to show you stuff. Yeah.
And the light comes on to show you things, because there's no meter that can measure negative energy. This cannot measure anything negative. This meter here can only measure the waste product.
Can you conceive in your mind of what a meter would look like to measure it in 50 years or whatever it is?
Yes, it won't look anything like this.
Right.
It'll be a differential type meter.
Okay.
And it'll work more on the way your thoughts work.
Mm.
It'll work with that energy level. It won't work.
It won't be mechanical.
It'll be almost like...
More as a parallel processor than...
Yeah, more, right, exactly. And because you can feel when an energy's hot, and you can feel when an energy is cold. And definitely, if something's hot and it's spinning around, it blows out hot air. Right? Well, this was spinning around and was blowing out cold air. So they're right there. That just shoots the whole thing down. And we finally figured out what it was, and I drew it on the blackboard, and you have that. But Sajeka was a different guy, because he it's kind of hard to even tell the stories. You know, was a happy-go-lucky guy, but when you got him mad, he'd bug you, which he did to me. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason I wasn't friends with him after that, was because he put a bug in my shop and was listening to everything that we were doing. Because he thought that I was letting what he told me out.
So how did he die in the end?
He died of cancer. He chewed. Tobacco chew. And I think that's what it was. And all his machines couldn't cure him. He was that far gone. And then in the end, I know for a fact if I was in his position with the laboratory that he had, with the files that he had, I'd probably destroy things. Myself, I'm just saying, if I was in his shoes. Myself, come and get it, world. Good luck at it. You know, which we'll make sure that it goes to the right place when that happens. But outside of that, that was John Sajeka. And he had a bit of information on everything. He knew about everything. He couldn't talk about one thing that he didn't know about. You know, like the crystals, and he knew exactly because he was there while it was being done. So we don't really know what part of the organization he worked for, but we knew that he was there to watch what we were doing with us. And when we got it to a certain point where it was blowing out cold air, and it was, you could hold the wires like that and everything, that was it. Gone. And he always said this was part of a space drive of some type. Went on a spaceship and did something. It was part of a spaceship. So, what spaceship?
Yeah.
Where? Whose?